And this brings me to the fourth issue that I will discuss: America's interest in democratic governments that protect the rights of their people. By no means is America perfect. But it is our commitment to certain universal values which allows us to correct our imperfections. To improve constantly, and to grow stronger over time. Freedom of speech and assembly has allowed women, and minorities, and workers to protest for full and equal rights at a time when they were denied. The rule of law and equal administration of justice has busted monopolies. Shut down political machines that were corrupt, ended abuses of power. Independent media have exposed corruption at all levels of business and government. Competitive elections allow us to change course and hold our leaders accountable. If our democracy did not advance those rights, then I, as a person of African ancestry, wouldn't be able to address you as an American citizen, much less a president. Because at the time of our founding, I had no rights people who looked like me. But it is because of that process that I can now stand before you as President of the United States. So around the world, America supports these values because they are moral, but also because they work. The arc of history shows that governments which serve their own people survive and thrive. Governments which serve only their own power do not. Governments that represent the will of their people are far less likely to descend into failed states. To terrorize their citizens, or to wage war on others. Governments that promote the rule of law, subject their actions to oversight. And allow for independent institutions are more dependable trading partners. And in our own history, democracies have been America's most enduring allies. Including those we once waged war with in Europe and Asia, nations that today live with great security and prosperity. Now let me be clear, America cannot and should not seek to impose any system of government on any other country. Nor would we presume to choose which party or individual should run a country. And we haven't always done what we should have on that front. Even as we meet here today, America supports now the restoration of the democratically elected President of Honduras. Even though he has strongly opposed American policies. We do so not because we agree with him. We do so because we respect the universal principle that people should choose their own leaders. Whether they are leaders we agree with or not. And that leads me to the final area that I will discuss. Which is America's interest in an international system that advances cooperation while respecting the sovereignty of all nations. State sovereignty must be a cornerstone of international order. Just as all states should have the right to choose their leaders. States must have the right to borders that are secure, and to their own foreign policies. That is true for Russia, just as it is true for the United States. Any system that cedes those rights will lead to anarchy. That's why we must apply this principle to all nations, and that includes nations like Georgia and Ukraine. America will never impose a security arrangement on another country. For any country to become a member of an organization like NATO, for example, a majority of its people must choose to. They must undertake reforms, they must be able to contribute to the alliance's mission. And let me be clear, NATO should be seeking collaboration with Russia, not confrontation. And more broadly, we need to foster cooperation and respect among all nations and peoples. As President of the United States, I will work tirelessly to protect America's security and to advance our interests. But no one nation can meet the challenges of the 21st century on its own, nor dictate its terms to the world. That is something that America now understands, just as Russia understands. That's why America seeks an international system that lets nations pursue their interests peacefully. Especially when those interests diverge, a system where the universal rights of human beings are respected. And violations of those rights are opposed, a system where we hold ourselves to the same standards that we apply to other nations, with clear rights and responsibilities for all. There was a time when Roosevelt, Churchill, and Stalin could shape the world in one meeting. Those days are over. The world is more complex today. Billions of people have found their voice. And seek their own measure of prosperity and self-determination in every corner of the planet. Over the past 2 decades, we've witnessed markets grow. Wealth spread, and technology used to build not destroy. We've seen old hatreds pass, illusions of differences between people lift and fade away. We've seen the human destiny in the hands of more and more human beings who can shape their own destinies. Now, we must see that the period of transition which you have lived through ushers in a new era in which nations live in peace. And people realize their aspirations for dignity, security, and a better life for their children. That is America's interest, and I believe that it is Russia's interest as well. I know that this future can seem distant. Change is hard. In the words of that NES student back in 1993, the real world is not so rational as on paper. But think of the change that has unfolded with the passing of time. "100 years ago, a Tsar ruled Russia, and Europe was a place of empire. When I was born, segregation was still the law of the land in parts of America. And my father's Kenya was still a colony. When you were born, a school like this would have been impossible. And the internet was only known to a privileged few. You get to decide what comes next. You get to choose where change will take us. Because the future does not belong to those who gather armies on a field of battle or bury missiles in the ground. The future belongs to young people with an education and the imagination to create. That is the source of power in this century. And given all that has happened in your 2 decades on Earth, just imagine what you can create in the years to come. Every country charts its own course. Russia has cut its way through time like a mighty river through a canyon. Leaving an indelible mark on human history as it goes. As you move this story forward, look to the future that can be built if we refuse. To be burdened by the old obstacles and old suspicions. Look to the future that can be built if we partner on behalf of the aspirations we hold in common. Together, we can build a world where people are protected, prosperity is enlarged. And our power truly serves progress. And it is all in your hands. Good luck to all of you. Thank you very much. Barack Obama. Address on the death of Muammar Gaddafi. Delivered October 21, 2011, White House, Washington, D. C. Good afternoon, everybody. Today, the government of Libya announced the death of Muammar Gaddafi. This marks the end of a long and painful chapter for the people of Libya. Who now have the opportunity to determine their own destiny in a new and democratic Libya. For 4 decades, the Gaddafi regime ruled the Libyan people with an iron fist. Basic human rights were denied. Innocent civilians were detained, beaten, and killed. And Libya's wealth was squandered. The enormous potential of the Libyan people was held back, and terror was used as a political weapon. Today, we can definitively say that the Gaddafi regime has come to an end. The last major regime strongholds have fallen. The new government is consolidating the control over the country. And one of the world's longest-serving dictators is no more. One year ago, the notion of a free Libya seemed impossible. But then the Libyan people rose up and demanded their rights. And when Gaddafi and his forces started going city to city, town by town, to brutalize men, women, and children, the world refused to stand idly by. Faced with the potential of mass atrocities and a call for help from the Libyan people, the United States and our friends and allies stopped Gaddafi's forces in their tracks. A coalition that included the United States, NATO and Arab nations persevered through the summer to protect Libyan civilians. And meanwhile, the courageous Libyan people fought for their own future and broke the back of the regime. So this is a momentous day in the history of Libya. The dark shadow of tyranny has been lifted. And with this enormous promise, the Libyan people now have a great responsibility to build an inclusive and tolerant and democratic Libya that stands as the ultimate rebuke to Gaddafi's dictatorship. We look forward to the announcement of the country's liberation, the quick formation of an interim government. And a stable transition to Libya's first free and fair elections. And we call on our Libyan friends to continue to work with the international community to secure dangerous materials. And to respect the human rights of all Libyans, including those who have been detained.